Hey, what's up? Serena here from thriftdiving.com, and today we are going to be doing just one more outdoor project. Well, probably two, but today you're going to see us create this blueberry garden here on the side of the house. This is a strip of area 4 feet wide that we've never really done anything with. It's just pretty much been weeds. So today we are using some gas-powered tools and we are just tilling this entire area, and we should be able to get it done just like that. So let's get started. If you've been following me on Instagram, you'll know that I've been teaming up with 5 other bloggers for the Troy-Bilt Flip the Yard Challenge, which they're sponsoring this video and this project, so a big thanks to them. But the challenge was that they were going to send us one tool. We had $250 and we needed to make over a place in our yard garden. Well, I got a little bit of flack from my fire pit video where people said, mostly men, why are you using battery-powered tools to try to do this project? You need something more heavy-duty. Well, thankfully, I have redeemed myself because I am a Rototiller convert. I love this thing. So you'll get to see that in just a moment. Thankfully, my husband was there to help. He doesn't help with a lot of projects because he works a lot. And I was so thankful to have his help in some of the heavy lifting and heavy duty parts of this project.
I don't want to be on your channel.
You don't want to be on my channel? Why? People wonder, where's her husband? Why isn't he helping?
Listen, stop.
It's going to be hard to get out, I know. So before we could rototill the area, we needed to remove some of the old shrubs and roots that were there. All the bugs in there. Ugh. All right, are you guys ready to be tilled? Because you're going to get tilled. Putting some blueberries in. All right,
Did you install the wheels?
No, they were already installed. All right, let's try it. I don't think so. So this thing is super powerful, and I left that clip in there to show you a couple of things. On the first pull, it started, so there was no problem getting this thing started, and it had so much power, it just lurched forward. So make sure that you read the manual so you know exactly how to use it, so you're not uncomfortable and you're safe. Now you'll notice when my husband got to the end, he didn't know that there was a lever on top that he could pull towards himself to put this thing in reverse. So once I showed him that, then he was able to do it, and you see I'm walking around with the instructions in my hand. I'm such a nerd, but you have to read the instructions. You know, when you're doing a small garden, the forward rotating Front-Tine rototiller is perfect for that. If you have a larger garden, there are tools that you can get from Troy-Bilt for larger spaces, but this is perfect for a small garden, and I'm so glad that I've got this in my, arsenal of garden tools. And it only took probably about 20 minutes to clear the entire area and loosen that soil so that I could shovel it up, put it in the wheelbarrow, and then take it to a place in the backyard in the far corner and just dump it. The next step was to take 3 to 5 bags of organic garden soil, dump it in the area, and then till it all together. Here in Maryland, we don't have good soil. I wouldn't even call this soil, it's clay. You dig it up and it's just clumpy, wet, orange. So, you just have to condition the soil. So I'm a novice gardener. This is really just my second season of trying to grow things. Normally, I've got a black thumb. This year, we're going to change that as well as last summer. Last summer, I did pretty good. So I dumped everything out into the area, spread it out, and then sparked up my rototiller and just blended that stuff together. The job didn't take but just a few minutes to blend everything together. And I know because blueberries like things to be a little bit more acidic, I'll have to probably mix something else in, but we'll deal with that once we get the plants into the ground. All right, moving on to the next step, we actually had to place the plants. Now, I don't know much about blueberries, but in my experience, they need to be anywhere from 4 to 6 feet apart. And depending on the variety, some of them are self-pollinating, and some of them, like this variety, I believe is the high bush variety, those actually like to be planted together within 4 to 6 feet. So you definitely want to make sure that you plan out, based on the variety of blueberries that you're going to plant, that you space them evenly so that they can cross-pollinate.
Break the soil.
So when I took the container off, I did break the soil up a little bit. You can do it with your hands, but I also had seen a gardener do it with a utility knife. And so just slicing some of those roots and then putting it in the ground. The instructions for the blueberries said to put it in a hole that's twice as wide and twice as deep. So sometimes I get a little nervous and I'm thinking, please let me have done this correctly. Anyway, we finished putting all of the blueberries in the ground, covering them back up. And then it was time to move on to the Concord grapes. Now, I couldn't decide when I was starting this project, do I do blueberries or do I do grapes? So I decided to do both. And my husband dug 2 really deep holes for the grapes, the Concord grapes. And then I just put one of these tomato plants, little planter things behind it so that I could have something for the grapes to actually climb up. I needed to do something with this side of the yard, but for now I just wanted to get them in the ground. We'll deal with that part later. Day 1 is over. We have one more day of the Flip Your Yard Challenge. The blueberry plants are in, and I actually had a chance to do the grape plant. So it's looking really good. I'm exhausted. I'm dirty. I have dirt under my nails, and I am just covered in like cow manure, organic cow manure. Now, when I started this project, I didn't have any plans to remove this rotten wood. But after we had gotten the blueberry bushes in, I thought, this is really not cute. This rotten wood is just kind of ruining the whole effect of these beautiful little bushes. So I decided I was going to remove it. Now, here's the thing. I wasn't sure if this was my neighbor's property or if it was my property. And to be honest with you, I was like, I ain't going to find out. We're just going to remove them. And what can they say about it? It's ugly. It's dry rotted. And if I'm willing to move this and hoe these things across the yard, then what can they really say about it? We're going to improve it. So moving them was pretty difficult. I did use my shovel and just get it underneath of there. My husband was at work, so there was really nobody to help me, but the shovel helped leverage them a little bit, and I was able to sort of kick it off to the side and roll it into the neighbor's yard. Now, the thing is, I couldn't leave these in my neighbor's yard. I mean, there was no way I was going to be able to do that. And I actually tried cutting these with a chainsaw. Bad idea. Somebody on Instagram mentioned that they have some kind of chemical in them, sort of like pressure treated wood. They have some sort of chemical in there so that they don't rot quickly, although eventually they did. And it can be dangerous. So, cutting these was not an option. We were just going to move them out of the way. And guess what? We were going to call 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and we're going to have some guys come and move it for us. And that's exactly what I did. But first, I needed to use the tiller again just to kind of break up some of the soil that was compacted because of these wooden posts. So I just went over the yard as best as I could, over to the side, and was trying to control this thing because at one point I thought I was going to run over my blueberry bushes. So when I was done, I still thought, okay, how am I going to make this look great? And then I realized when I did my fire pit video, I still had a lot of bricks left that I did not use. Remember the little planters that I did? So guess what? We're going to use the excess bricks and we are going to create a new little edging. Genius! In the meantime, the guys came from the junk place and they took all 4 big heavy posts. I felt a little bad for them because some of them were really heavy, but it just needed to be moved. There was no way that we were going to put it out on the curb. The trash guys were not taking this. It was heavy. So thankfully that was out of the way and it was time to move on to the next part of this project. Now, typically my boys don't really like to help with my DIY projects, but when it came to the bird feeder, they argued about who was going to fill it up and who was going to hang it. This was the perfect spot. I had a plant stand from way back in the yard, wasn't using it. It needs a nice coat of paint, but once it stops raining, we'll be able to freshen that up. I wanted a little bit of color in this area, so I decided to hang some plant hangers, and it gives it like a nice pop of color. Now, the fence does need to be pressure washed. We have not done that this part of the season yet, but eventually it'll get done. So the very last thing I needed to do was to protect these blueberry plants. Birds love blueberries, and I didn't go through all this hard work for nothing. So I put a couple of stakes in next to the plant, and I'm using this powder-coated fencing to just wrap around it. Really, I don't think the stakes mattered that much because once I wrapped it around and I used my tin snips to just kind of snip it off, it left these little prongs, so I could just fold it into itself, and it worked pretty good to stand up. Now, I went ahead and did that to all the other plants, and when I was done, it looked so good. So this is what it looked like before. There was no color. The cats actually used this part of the yard for a litter box. And now it looks like a place where you could hang out. You can sit in the chair, watch the birds, and it had a lot of weeds. It had a lot of, decaying wood, and now it looks fresh. It looks like a place where when you come home and your eyes glance over to the left, it's not an eyesore. It actually looks good. And let's keep in mind, these are blueberry plants, and I've got grape plants. So we'll actually be able to eat this. So what started as a project that I thought, I don't know how this is going to turn out, it looks amazing. And I'm so glad that I decided to get rid of those big, heavy, rotten, decayed wood because the planters look good. And we have birds. I had to set my camera up to capture this shot. They were a little shy. But anyway, if you love this project, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Go down below to the description for the blog posts, which will be coming, and check out all the materials that I use for this project. And a big thanks for the sponsor, Troy-Bilt. Be sure to check them out as well, and I will see you next video.